Hey, Olive, Arlo, and Frank. Grandpa losing his voice as the sun is getting ready to start going down here in Jack's Beach. Although I can't see it, it's a rainy afternoon out there. We're going to continue in the penultimate chapter of Exodus. The next to the last chapter, chapter 39. And we're going to look at two things. We're going to look at the craftsmen making the garments for the priests. And the other thing that we're going to look at is when that's done, as we lead into the last chapter, Moses is going to inspect everything. Because even though these craftsmen were put in charge of building the things, God gave the instructions to Moses, so he's the one responsible. From the blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, they made woven garments for serving in the sanctuary. They made holy garments that were for Aaron, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. If you recall, Aaron is the high priest. He's going to be the first high priest. And then his oldest son would become the high priest. And on down the line. I don't know if it happened exactly that way, all the way down to like the end of the Old Testament. But I guess if the oldest son died, and I think there is one in there, I can't remember the guy's names, something in Phineas or something. But anyway, like the oldest brother messes up and the younger brother becomes the high priest. But it's not something that you compete for. You don't apply for the job. You're born and they go, okay, when you grow up, you're the high priest. Ephod. And the ephod, I think, is like a turban, kind of a headband thing. He made the ephod of gold, blue, purple, scarlet yarn and fine twisted linen. They hammered the gold into thin sheets and cut it into narrow strips to weave them into the blue, purple, and scarlet yarn. So they're putting actual gold onto this thing. And into the fine linen, the work of an artistic designer. They made shoulder pieces for it, attached to two of its corners, so it could be joined together. Let me ask. Hey Siri, what is an ephod?
An ephod was a type of apron that, according to the Hebrew Bible, was worn by the high priest of Israel.
Thanks.
An artifact.
So, yeah, I was wrong. I thought it was turban. And then there's a thing called the breastplate. So, but this is probably underneath the breastplate or maybe over top of it. So it's an apron, essentially. They made shoulder pieces for it, attached to two of its corners, so it could be joined together. The artistically woven waistband of the ephod that was on it was like it, of one piece with it, of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and fine twisted linen, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. They set the onyx stones in gold filigree settings, engraved as with engravings of a seal. And a seal was this thing, like if you were going to send a document. Back then they used like scrolls. You unrolled them, but you could still do this. Like you don't have an envelope. You can do this very easily with an envelope. You take some hot wax and put it on there, or on the scroll. And then you had this ring with a very specific pattern on it. And you press the ring into the wax. And people knew that was, I don't know, you might have your initials or, some kind of a symbol that stands for you. where was I? Engravings of a seal with the names of the sons of Israel. He put them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod as stones of memorial for the Israelites, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Well, now we're going to look at the breastpiece of decision. He made the breastpiece the work of an artistic designer in the same fashion as the ephod, of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and fine twisted linen. It was square. They made the breastpiece doubled, 9 inches long and 9 inches wide when doubled. They set on it 4 rows of stones, a row with a ruby, a topaz, and a beryl, the first row, and the second row, a turquoise, a sapphire, and an emerald, and the third row, a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst. So this is one for each of the 12 tribes. And the fourth row, a chrysolite, an onyx, and a jasper. And they think they know basically what all these are, but there might be a couple of them that they really don't know. Some of them are things you still have now, like turquoise and sapphire and emerald. The stones were for the names of the sons of Israel, 12, corresponding to the number of their names. Each name corresponding to one of the 12 tribes was like the engravings of a seal. They made for the breastpiece braided chains like cords of pure gold, and they made 2 gold filigree settings and 2 gold rings. And they attached the 2 rings to the upper 2 ends of the breastpiece. They attached the 2 gold chains to the 2 rings at the end of the breastpiece. The other 2 ends of the 2 chains they attached to the 2 settings, and they attached them to the shoulder piece of the ephod at the front of it. Got this? They made 2 rings of gold and put them on the other 2 ends of the breastpiece on its edge, which is on the inner side of the ephod. They made 2 more gold rings and attached them to the bottom of the 2 shoulder pieces on the front of the ephod, close to the juncture above the waistband of the ephod. They tied the breastpiece by its rings to the rings of the ephod by blue cord, so that it was above the waistband of the ephod, so that the breastpiece would not be loose from the ephod, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. So now here's some other clothes that priests are going to wear. Because remember, there's a bunch of priests. He made the robe of the ephod completely blue. And, well, this is, maybe they're not going to do the other priests, because this is still the stuff for Aaron, for the high priest. He made the robe of the ephod completely blue, the work of a weaver. There was an opening in the center of the robe, like the opening of a collar, with an edge all around the opening, so that it could not be torn. They made pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and twisted linen. Your grandmother loves pomegranates. Chinese apples, as they called them when I was a kid. They made bells of pure gold and attached the bells between the pomegranates. Around the hem of the robe, between the pomegranates, there was a bell and a pomegranate, a bell and a pomegranate. You see a pattern all around the hem of the robe to be used in ministering, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. So these things are going to be like banging into each other and tinkle, 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 and making all kinds of noise. They made tunics of fine linen, the work of a weaver, for Aaron and for his sons, and the turban of the linen, the headbands of fine linen, and the undergarments of twisted linen. That doesn't sound, it doesn't sound that comfortable. The sash was of fine twisted linen and blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, the work of an embroiderer, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. They made a plate, the holy diadem, of pure gold, and wrote on it an inscription as on the engravings of a seal, holiness to the Lord. They attached to it a blue cord to attach it to the turban above, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. So this is another thing I think that hangs. What was it called? Yeah, this is on the tunic. So that's a hat kind of thing. So it's like on his forehead. So Moses is going to come and check it out. So all the work of the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, was completed, and the Israelites did according to all that the Lord had commanded Moses. They did it exactly so. They brought the tabernacle to Moses, the tent and all its furnishings, clasps, frames, bars, posts, and bases, and the covering of ram skins dyed red, the covering of fine leather, and the protecting curtain, the ark of the testimony, and its poles, and the atonement lid, the tables, all its utensils, and the bread of the presence, the pure lampstand, its lamps with the lamps set in order, and all its accessories, and oil for the light, and the gold altar, and the anointing oil, and the fragrant incense, and the curtain for the entrance to the tent, the bronze altar, and its bronze grating, its poles, and all its utensils, the large basin with its pedestal, the hangings of the courtyard, its posts and its bases, and the curtain for the gateway of the courtyard, its ropes and its tent pegs, and all the furnishes for the services of the tabernacle, for the tent of the meeting, the woven garments for serving in the sanctuary, the holy garments for Aaron the priest, and the garments for his sons to minister as priests. The Israelites did all the work according to all that the Lord had commanded Moses. Moses inspected all the work that they had done, and had inspected all the work, and they had done it just as the Lord had commanded. They had done it exactly. And Moses blessed them. So there's only one thing left to do in this chapter before going on to the book of Mark, and that is, let's set this puppy up and see if we can do the things that we think we can do in it. Worship the Lord, sacrifice some animals, and other cool stuff. Till next time, peace out.